All right, everybody, come on in, come on in. Thank you all so much for being here. Welcome back to another Wild Card Wednesday with your matriarchs, Maggie and Lucy. We are the proud founders of the Finishing School for the Modern Woman, which just launched our fall 2024 session. We are so excited. We love the ladies. And so as our way of giving back, what we like to do a couple times a week is come on and share with you all our perspectives as older women with, if I counted up, over 35 years of marriage experience. I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. You may know me for my cooking channel. I make food and femininity content. So I'm going to let Lucy introduce herself and then tell us, what are we reacting to tonight? Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Maggie. Hi, everyone. Come on in. Come on in. I'm Lucy. I also have a channel that the content is mostly Spanish for basic learners, for learners that want to learn the basic of Spanish, maybe midpoint. But then this year, I decided to change the content to be more about femininity, elegance, etiquette, and anything related to women over a certain age. But today, the topic that we're reacting to, the video that we're reacting to, I think Dr. Taraban posted it, I believe it was last week. And it is a topic that I think it's close to my heart because I have dated, the two men that I married were over 9 years over my age. So this is about men or dating over 50. So we're going to take a look at what he says on the psychiatrist, and what he has seen in his practice, and we'll react to it.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. I see Lady C in the house. I see Escape the Rat Race, and I see Big Stags. Thank you all so much. All right. So I am going to share my screen with the sound. We will play the video and we will stop intermittently to give you our reaction. Of course, if you want to watch the entire video uninterrupted, I always link it in the description. And like Lucy, I am a woman of a particular age. I'll be 50 next year. And my ex-husband is 7 years older than me, and then my man is also in his 50s. And so, yeah, let's see what Dr. Taraban says. This should be a good one. So let me share my screen and sound and mute.
And this is Psychacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is dating after 50. So this is a subject that has been requested of me very frequently of late. And I've been cautious about creating an episode on the topic because I'm not yet in my 50s. I haven't yet personally experienced what it might be like. So take what I say with a grain of salt. That said, I've consulted with many, many folks, men and women in this demographic, and I think I have a few points on the subject worth listening to. So let's get to it. First and foremost, you have to understand that after 50, pretty much everyone that you might be dating is going to have a Purple Heart. That is to say, pretty much everyone will have been wounded in battle. And that's because being wounded is the only legitimate reason our culture accepts for being unmarried. Like, if you're unmarried at 50 and you've never been married, people will look at you like you fell from outer space. On the other hand, if you're unmarried at 50 because your ex-wife cheated on you, took your house, and alienated your children, or because you watched your husband die of pancreatic cancer over 3 agonizing and soul-crushing years, guess what? No one is going to ship you back to the front. Now,
All right, y'all know I can't wait. I got to get in here. I want to go ahead and react to a couple of things that he said. Oh, goodness. The first thing that he said is that Dr. Taraban, who is a real psychiatrist, psychologist, I don't know, we are not. We talk from our own relationship experience. But he said that people have been requesting this video from him, and he was hesitating to make it because he's not yet 50. This isn't too much on the topic, but I know sometimes people say, oh, if you don't have children, you can't speak about being a parent. Or if you haven't been a woman, you can't tell women what to do. If you haven't been a man, you can't tell men what to do. And I understand the premise of the argument, but I do think that we can see what is right or wrong, even if it's not happening to us. And what we tell our students in the finishing school, this week their homework was awareness. You can learn from other people what to do as well as what not to do. So I love that he's having this conversation. Okay. The other thing that he said is, at age 50 and above, which is, let's just face it, if you are blessed to live 100, you are in the sunset years of your life. You have reached the halfway point, and now we are hopefully aging gracefully. But over here, we are traditional. We do not believe in 50 is the new 20. 50 is 50. We believe in husband and wife, man and woman, boy and girl, mom and dad. Okay. So he said that by age 50, everybody has a Purple Heart. And shout out to our military. If you're unaware, the Purple Heart, I believe, is a very high honor given to a service member who paid a very dear sacrifice, or was wounded, basically went through the battle and has the scars to show it. So life happens to all of us. And I think that I love what he said, that if you're over 50 and never married, it is normal that people, whether they say it or not, they're going to be thinking why. So I like to talk to the ladies here as older women teaching the young. Ladies, if relationships are important to you now in your youth, believe me, they will be even more important to you as you age and we all naturally slow down. So I always tell the women, act like your hair is on fire, because it is. Because if you as a woman allow yourself, it is a choice to get to 50 and above and you have not prioritized relationship, people are going to look at you strangely. It doesn't matter how much money you have or celebrity you have. I just think it's natural. All right, so that's what I wanted to say. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree, Maggie. I think, unfortunately, for women, life is a little harder when you're older and men don't get to see you having a previous long relationship, because you're going to start asking, wait a minute, why has she been single all this time? For men, they don't have a biological clock. They don't have, in fact, sometimes the older they get, the more seasoned they get. And women are more just attracted to that experience and that wisdom. Whereas with women, unfortunately, men are looking to have that youth that will give them the children and that just vitality that we have when we are younger.
Absolutely. Shout out to the seasoned. I love a good salt and pepper beard. My guy's got one and I love it. All right, let's get back in there. I see you all in the chat. We'd love to hear what you say or what you all think. So put your thoughts in the chat and we'll circle back to you all.
Now, Whether, if the only socially acceptable way to be unmarried is to be wounded, this would lead to people exaggerating their wounds in order to escape the pressure and judgment of their friends and family is for you to decide. However, we can certainly maintain that people are incentivized to do just that. In any case, past a certain point, everyone in the sexual marketplace is going to be wounded. They're going to have some scars. They're going to have some baggage. And this can actually be a pro and a con. It's a con because, as we all know, some folks can't let go of their baggage. Not all wounds heal. Not all wounds are allowed to heal. And these folks are going to be so jaded or suspicious or cynical or doctrinated or defensive that it will be next to impossible to have a satisfying relationship with them. On the other hand, if people go through something and they recover from their loss and pain, they might actually have some measure of wisdom and compassion. Like some soldiers are so traumatized by conflict that they are no longer reliable communicators. However, who would you rather learn about war from? The decorated combat veteran or the West Point graduate who's never been in a fight?
Ooh, this is so good. All right, I want to unpack this one here. So we've established that past a certain age, because life happens to all of us, youth is fleeting and it's that way for a moment. We're only young once. After that, we all have life experience. I would urge the ladies that we teach and that I coach and consult is that those experiences should help you. Those experiences should make you better. Like Dr. Orion said, have you gone through life and learned from whatever you've gone through to make you better for the husband that you're seeking out? We're talking to the ladies here. Lucy and I both have a connection to the late, great Kevin Samuels. And he used to ask a question to the women when they were just hot girl summering or doing whatever they wanted to do and wasting their youth. He would ask them, what of these experiences, what have you learned from the men that you have allowed to have access to you? How is that going to benefit you with the husband that you want? And a lot of them were drawing blanks. So ladies, let me urge you. We always say that dating, the purpose of dating is to establish if this is a suitable match for marriage or long term. It's not to put on a dress and take a picture. It's not to go to the new restaurant in town. It's not to be able to post on Instagram, look at me. You need to be dating with intention. And I argue that you only should date the caliber of men that you see as husband material. There's no guarantee that it's going to work. But if it doesn't work, I'll use myself as an example. I always put myself on the hot seat. Married at 25 for 10 years, 2 kids from marriage. And I always say, as a reformed modern woman, unfortunately, it ended in divorce. But I learned from that, got on the program, and second time around, I got I got on board very quickly. And so the experiences that I went through with a good man helped me to be better for the second chance that I am not entitled to. So be very careful if you think your 20s or 30s, or God help you, 40s, are for having experiences, girls' trips, one night stands, all of these things. That's fine, but you will soon tire of that. And then the man that you see that could change your life, he's going to be wondering, well, what have you been doing? And why should I take a chance on you now? All right. What would you add, Lucy?
And I also think that when he talks about previous experiences, we women tend to apply those bad experiences to the new experiences that we're having with the possible potential mate that we have. So I think it's important that if you've had previous experiences, you leave that in the past, because what I hear a lot is all men are the same. No, they're not. Men are individuals, they're different, and they are the same to you because those are the men that you are choosing, instead of taking a step back and saying, no, my past experience was this. I will not choose a man that has these characteristics. I'm going to go completely the opposite way because I need to learn. I learned from what I had. That's the reason I'm no longer with that anymore. I'm looking to find somebody that is very differently, and I'm not going to apply those things that that other person did to me to this new innocent bystander that might be getting all that that baggage dumped on him without any kind of reasoning, without any kind of uh, uh, any reason to have him take on that baggage that he's innocent from having.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see what you all are saying in the chat, and then we'll go back to the video. We got Mr. Nemhard in the house. Thank you so much for being here. Glad you're back for another show. We have E. Capone with us. Thank you for the compliment, Mr. Nemhard. I'm tired. I get a little raspy, long day at work, but this is our happy place. Lucy and I really love connecting with you all and the community because we think this is missing today. So ladies, if your mother did not teach you, Auntie Maggie and Tia Lucy will. The Clue channel is asking, what do y'all know about what goes on after 50? I don't know, but it's knocking down my door. it's coming. It's coming for me. And honestly, I embrace it. And ladies, I will say this. I believe that I am looking forward to aging gracefully because I have prioritized relationship and put things in place that allow me to look forward to the future. The kids are getting up, they're about to be out, and it's kind of like, wow, what's next for me? And I look forward to that. I think a lot of women who pretend that they're younger than they are is because where they are in life, they're actually not proud of. So the lying and the deception and the, oh, I've still got it, I think it's covering up some insecurities. That's my thought. We have Erin Laura in the house. Our moderator is here doing her thing. Thank you so much. Big Stags is here. He says scars for sure. And it's true. Everybody has a story that'll bring a tear to your eye. And that's okay. But especially ladies, if you're dealing with a masculine man, they are results driven. They are goal focused. I know my man will look at me and be like, all right, so what are you going to do about it? So don't think you're going to just take this baggage, which we all have, to the man of your dreams and just lay it at his feet for him to solve your problems. As they say, at the big age of 50 plus, you will find yourself alone. Clue Channel says, I like Dr. Orion. Yeah, Lucy's been sending us some good ones. Who do we have here? One of our founding fathers for the finishing school, Mr. Option One. He says, hello, Lucy, AKA always wears an immaculate blouse. He's loving the fit. And hello, Maggie, AKA Wakanda Forever. I am wearing my Egypt. Summer is fleeting, so I'm getting the Egyptian cotton out before it's too cold. He says, I'm in my 50s over here, and I had to tune in for this one. So yes, those of you all that are seasoned, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Absolutely. All right, you all saying hello to each other. Hello, Lawrence. Let's see if there's anything else, and then we'll go back to the video. Self-righteous RO says, how do you know when to be vulnerable with someone? That's a very broad question. Let me get through the comments and I'll star this. If you want to give any additional context, I don't know if you're over 50 or not. I don't know if you're a man or a woman. If you can give us a little bit of context, I think I could do a better job of answering. We have Bert Taylor in the house. Hello, hello, everyone. Lawrence says 50 is knocking down your door. And yes, it is a blessing to be alive. Relationships are what you make it. All right, Bert, 63 and still learning. Okay. All right, let's get back in, everyone.
And this is why I think we should all be cautious about listening to the musings of overconfident 22-year-olds with respect to what makes relationships work. As I've said previously, pain is the gift that nobody wants, but it is a gift, provided you can learn from it and move forward. And those who have done so are often much better human beings for having suffered than those whose good fortune have protected them from such experiences. Now, the second thing to understand about dating after 50 is that the underlying value exchange is just as applicable now as it always has been. People still enter into relationships when they exchange unequal goods of comparable value. However, what people tend to value tends to shift over the course of a lifespan, and this is reasonable. On some level, marrying someone at 20 because you think they'll take care of you on your deathbed is kind of stupid. Like, you might not ever get there. That could be 70 years in the future. And it doesn't really make sense to prioritize a skill set in selection that, if you ever do use it, won't be needed for the better part of a century. As I discuss in the book, value is psychological. The same assets or traits or attributes might be highly valued at certain stages of life and functionally irrelevant at others. Now, men never really stop desiring young, beautiful women. However, by the time they're 50, they might also consider such women to be inane, fickle, and boring, which will significantly reduce the perceived value of a potential relationship with that demographic. By the same token, women never really stop wanting an emotionally compelling lifestyle and a comfortable way of life. However, by the time they're 50, they might be able to provide this for themselves. They've either cashed out from a previous marriage or they're at the peak of their careers. In fact, by the time you get to this stage of the game, there might actually be very little that you need or want from a relationship. And this can be challenging because need is actually the pretext for relating.
All right, so let's jump in here. He's starting to cook, as we say. He said a lot there that I want to respond to a little bit. I love that he just flat out says, and I'm paraphrasing here, that relationships are transactional. Not in the sense that you may think, okay, it's not like we're exchanging, gold coins for a relationship. But when I talk to women and I ask them what they want in a relationship, 9.9 times out of 10, they talk about how the relationship is going to help them. So ladies, let me give this to you for free. Do not ever say, I'm looking for a man who can do this for me. I'm looking for someone who can take me places, someone who can pay for things, all of that is implied. A masculine man is wired that way. You want to look for the type of relationship where you can serve, where you can be useful to him, because that transaction is a man, especially at this age, who's been through things, hurts, successes. He's not looking at having a decoration that's not useful to him. So especially older ladies, and I'll speak, for myself, we have to be very careful that, well, I've worn myself out doing, what I want to do. Now I need somebody to come here and rescue me from myself. Not only is that selfish, it's actually very unattractive. And so Kevin Samuels, one of the things that he said, us older women, we should be winning. We should be leading, because we should have life experience, and we should know instantly when you're around a man how they move, how they communicate. Know that he's not your best friend. He's not going to sit and watch chick flicks with you. This is not who a man is. You should know that by the time you get to this age. So just know that men of all ages, especially a seasoned man, is looking for a woman who is useful to them. The other thing that he talked about, in my warning to professional women, when he said, you may get to an age where, yes, can you do it by yourself? I could on paper do it by myself, but I don't want to. I was raised to prioritize relationships, and I think I'm at my best in my relationship. So modern women, professional women, you have to be very careful that that piece of paper or that promotion or that accomplishment that you're hanging your hat on, that's not going to check on you when you're tired, when you're not feeling well. Make sure you arrived at your destination okay. Celebrate your wins and successes with you. So be very careful about leading with how much you don't need anybody, because again, you will find yourself alone. What would you add, Lucy?
I also liked when he said that when men reach a certain age, a very young woman for them tends to be very fickle, very childish. It gets to a point where they cannot relate. So again, yeah, they love youth, but I think that there's a limit to the pros and cons about, them being older and getting into a relationship with somebody younger than them. The woman has to show that she has a level of maturity that he can manage. again, men, especially older men, they'll give us so much grace because of how we are, because they've been there, done that. They have seen, at this point, probably they've been in some relationships and they kind of understand what the woman's way of doing things. But he said that, when it comes to maybe uh, getting to maybe a younger woman falling for somebody that's much older, you have to show a level of maturity to be able to keep that more seasoned man. I mean, for maybe sometimes like Leo DiCaprio, he only likes what 25-year-olds, and then he gets tired because I think that he sees all that fickleness, all that just childishness, and although he keeps coming back to them, I think that an older man that has been with different relationships, they get to a point where they're like, yeah, too young for me. I cannot relate.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what you all are saying in the chat. But I agree with Lucy. I've heard it from my man. I hear a lot of older men they have like a bottom floor as far as how low they'll go on age because they're just not putting up with the foolishness. So there's pluses and minuses at every age. But yeah, I agree with Lucy. I mean, if you're going to be dating a man, of a mature age, you also need to match his maturity in wisdom, if not years. And especially older women who think you're going to act childish, you're going to, play some of the same games that the young ones do. It's going to double. It's gonna count twice as bad for you. All right, let's see what you all are saying in the chat. Then we will go back in. Lauren says there are more lessons in failure than victory, which can also defeat you. Absolutely. I love what he said about, if you just had the happy path in life and, nothing ever, no disappointments, no failures, one, I don't really think that's real, especially by age 50. You've been through some things and hopefully we have learned from them. Bert says, I was married for 25 years before she passed. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. God bless you. I'm so sorry to hear that. 25 years. What a life and a memory. I'm sure you have so many. I was married for 25 years before she died, and I'm kind of worried about dating again. It's been 7 years since she's been gone. Yes, and I tell this to some of the older women who, for whatever reason, they allowed themselves to get to their late 30s or 40s, and then they look at someone who's been together for 20, 30, 40 years. Ladies, that ship has sailed for you. I'm sorry, but there is a value in giving your husband the benefit of your youth because you can build those memories over time. The treatment that you want, the devotion that you want, the high praise and honor that you want is years in the future. I see so many modern women who want the anniversary treatment on the first date. You want to go to places that when we were coming up, you didn't even think about that until you've been married for a long time. So I just think that putting the time in there, my man will tell you there's no shortcut for the time. So whenever you start, that's when the clock starts. You will not skip to the front of the line. The Clue Channel says, yes, relationships are transactional, and we understand and we accept that in business. We understand and accept that in family. Just sit here and say, I'm a mother and don't do anything that mothers do. It's not going to work. Yes, thank you all for liking the live stream. We appreciate that. And we appreciate giving back to you all as well. Yes, our condolences. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. Would you add anything to our dear widower, Lucy?
I am so sorry, Bert. I can't imagine going through such sadness. I think about my husband. We're almost 20 years married, and it's like, oh no, I could never. And we went through some scary times with this heart, a couple of years ago. So, and I do see your how you're hesitant about starting to date now, because the modern world is really strange now. Modern women have such weird expectations about men when we know that smart women know that men have been men and they have certain simple expectations from us, that and for us to, for the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years, expect something completely different from men is it's astonishing. And again, one of the things that I've noticed, women, they get married to a man knowing who they are, knowing who the man they married, and they expect to change him throughout the years. That will never happen. You will never change a man. Whatever you saw, whatever you met, whatever you fell in love with, that man is going to continue being the same person from beginning to end. Stop thinking that you're going to change him, because again, that's not fair to you, not fair to him, and it's going to create resentment.
Absolutely. And one last thing I'll say, because I did counsel a young woman who married an older man and he had children her age. I'll leave that right there. And she was complaining that he was putting his children first. And I told her, ma'am, Kevin Samuel said this, he can always get another wife. He cannot get additional children. So understand this, ladies, if you're marrying an older man, he's probably had, a marriage before, maybe he's divorced, maybe he's widowed. He probably has children. So thinking that you're going to usurp any of that, the memory that he has that was a whole life before you, you have to honor and respect that and be appreciative and be grateful that he's taking a second chance on you. Because honestly, when a man is at this point of his life, it's going to be really hard to try and compete, and you shouldn't even try to compete with the memory of whatever was. This is your time. Make the best of it. All right, let's go back in, and then we'll come back to the comments.
It is very difficult, if not impossible, to enter into a relationship with someone who needs or wants nothing from you. And sometimes people need to cultivate need in order to generate the conditions of a relationship, in the same way that sometimes the government needs to create jobs to reduce unemployment.
If you appreciate the insights on this channel, I would highly encourage you to get your hands on a copy of my book.
However, this absence of need is also the beautiful promise of dating at this stage of life. Since the individuals involved don't really need anything from each other, they can just be two consenting adults who enjoy spending time together. Like, it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. And how amazing does that sound? You don't have to worry about legal contracts, children, or money, or lifestyle, or all the myriad of things that younger people enter into relationships to get. You don't have illusions that relationships need to last forever in order to be successful. And you may have actually learned a thing or two about how relationships actually work as opposed to how they're supposed to work. Also, you should have very good self-awareness and insight into what works for you and what doesn't work for you at this stage of life, which makes selection much, much more accurate. You don't need the other person for stuff, because most likely the two of you have plenty of stuff already, which means that you can have a relationship with someone just out of the simple fact that you like them. Wow, that sounds amazing. When I talk with people in this demographic, especially the women, they all tell me that what they're looking for is a real connection. They don't need the money or the kids or the ring. They just want someone with whom they can have a deep emotional connection. And with respect to this desire, I have both good news and bad news.
All right, so I want to unpack that one for a little bit. He was talking about how when you get to this age of 50, both men and women, you have created the life that you want. Hopefully, it's a life that you're happy with. And I never thought about it that way. I always think about young love, puppy love, like, high school sweethearts or whatever. when you don't really have anything to offer each other but each other. It's kind of like you really get to know that person and I like you for you. I do understand between the years of like 20 and 50, we're working, we're raising kids, there's careers. Sometimes there are other forces that keep people together. We saw in the pandemic, some people just had to defy those forces. But to me, that's kind of like a full circle moment. When you're older, you really aren't going to tolerate someone, well, we have kids together, or, well, this situation. So I think that's a good thing, because you can be with someone who really likes you for you. But ladies, that is a double-edged sword. And I feel like I speak to the ladies because I can't tell men what to do. But an older man is also going to be very, like Lucy said, very set in his ways, and it's going to be harder to convince him that your way is better just because he's established a life that he wants and you're together because you want to be. So if you tend to be a little bit more chaotic in relationships, if you tend to be undisciplined or difficult, an older man will end it much more quickly than someone who's younger. So I see that sometimes with women who date older men, and they say, he only gave me 3 months. That was 3 months too long if you weren't serious from the beginning. So I just wanted to offer that. I think older men can be wonderful, but just make sure you know that they're only going to be with you if they really want to be. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree. Again, they have seen so much that it only takes them a little bit of time to say, this is the right one, or no, this is not the one for me, and then move on. And again, at this point, men at that age, they're more happy to live by themselves on their own. So again, if you're thinking about dating someone like that, you better provide something of service. You better be an asset to him, something that he's going to want to be around with. I can just imagine, heaven forbid, I didn't have my husband, and let's say I was, older, and I was dating at that point, which I don't see myself dating at an older age, but that's me again. I would want somebody to be calm and just peaceful. This madness, this chaotic from some women that are almost my age at this point shows lack of emotional growth, lack of psychology. There's something there that is just, they haven't gone, something broken that they haven't fixed. And a man at this point, they don't have time to fix you. They will have time to take on some of our nuttiness as women, but there's a limit to it.
Absolutely. Bert says, I've learned over the years, relationships are give and take. Communication is the key in all relationships. Absolutely. Because as we age, everything fades, but that memory. And Lady C agrees. Let's go back in.
The good news is that it's actually possible to have a real emotional connection with the vast majority of human beings. And the more effective you are as a communicator, the more intelligent you are emotionally, and the more you're able to withhold judgment and empathically enter into another person's experience, the easier it will be for you to have that connection. Being kind and patient and tolerant doesn't hurt either. And the good news is that by the time you're in your 50s, you should be more of those things. And if you're not, like, what the fuck are you waiting for? You're definitely not getting any younger. So when are you planning to develop these attributes? So a deep emotional connection doesn't actually require that much. However, the bad news is that it's really hard to discern with whom you are more likely to have that connection. Like, it is far easier to tell who is rich and who is attractive than who is capable of resonating with you emotionally. Even when a person has all the attributes I listed in spades, you typically need a certain amount of time and a certain number of interactions to really figure that out. This makes looking for a connection seem like searching for an invisible needle in a haystack. And you can defend against the hopelessness and frustration that might seep in at this point by remembering that real connections aren't generally found, they're built. And they're typically built by people interested in building them. However, you may need to provide other value in the meantime to maintain the relationship until such time as that connection can be established. Otherwise, the other person might not stick around long enough for you to do so. That's what I got for you today. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please send this episode to someone who you think might benefit from its message, as it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow.
All right, everybody. So let's see. He said a lot in that last little bit. He talked about those qualities that we should have mastered by the time we get to 50. He talked about kindness. He talked about tolerance. Lucy talked about that emotional maturity. And whether or not you are in a relationship or have been in a relationship, by 50, you've had enough life experiences to know what helps relationships with people start. We all probably work with people or know people in our family that are just difficult. Everywhere they go, it's always something. Nothing's ever why they're alone. They shouldn't. Because you haven't developed those skills that draw people to you. So I would say, look at the results that you're getting as you move throughout life. Do people want to spend more time with you? Do they miss you when you're gone? Do they reach out to see when can I see you again? Whether it's a love relationship, family, or anything, or is that phone cricket quiet? And when people see you, they're kind of like, oh boy, here she comes again. It could be a moment for self-reflection. I love that. The other thing that he said is that relationships are not found, relationships are built. That is a big one, especially for ladies who have this pie in the sky Disney opinion about, he said in the video, what relationships should be, not what they are. And this is why that family of origin is so important. And as a mom, I tell the boys, date whoever you want, but pick a girl who comes from a good family. And the reason why is you've seen a husband and a wife work together over time. Unfortunately, a lot of times when women are surrounded by other women and there aren't men that they admire and respect in the family, you have the old women saying, men are no good, or, this or that, or he should do this for you. And it's not coming from a place of experience. That's what Lucy and I try to offer here. So if you have people who are telling you what relationships should be, take a moment to observe the kind of relationship that they have. Do they even have a relationship? That's a big one. He said that earlier in the video. I don't know if you all caught that. He was talking about the 25-year-old relationship coaches, the 25-year-old life coaches. And I remember I was young, I was headstrong. I remember thinking I was going to change the world. I knew everything. And like Lucy says, life has a way of humbling all of us. There are just some lessons you have to learn over time. You have to live. That's where wisdom comes from. It's from the experience. So I love how he closed that out. But yes, know that relationships are work. They are worth it, but they are work. And you have to be intentional. Just like you're intentionally dating, hopefully, you need to be intentional about your relationship. Don't just sit there and be like, well, what have you done for me lately? No. You look to make that connection stronger, and I promise she'll be happier. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree. In addition to, I like that part when he said people are interested in building relationships. And part of building relationships, I want to go back to somebody that commented about how do you show, when it's the right time to show vulnerability. I think part of building that relationship is choosing those moments to show a little vulnerability, because then the other person knows that that you are sharing something that is that makes you vulnerable to them. And that's part of giving each other that trust to be able to share something that that you feel vulnerable with, and that other person can also share something that makes them vulnerable. It's that part of building that relationship. You give and you take mutually. You give him something to think about. He gives you something to think about mutually. So again, that's part of building that relationship.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. I see what you all have in the comments. I'm gonna come back to that. I have some thoughts on this. I didn't see an update from Self-Righteous, but the question was, how do you know when to be vulnerable with someone? And I have a lot of thoughts on this one. The video is over. I've dropped the link. If you all want to talk to us, you can be camera on or camera off. You can click the link. How do you know when to be vulnerable with someone? And I hesitate with my answer because there's so many it depends, but I love to give some teachable moments that hopefully are helpful. I'm thinking about women, and I'm thinking about the women that I coach and consult, and just women in general, because we're emotional. We think that our men are our personal plus one, our therapist, our soulmate, our bestie, our spa buddy. You may be able to do things from time to time with your man, but especially at this age, this reminds me of our favorite Viking, Bjorn, right? Out in the forest or whatever, doing what he's done. And what I said about listening to other people telling you what a relationship should be or what a man should do. If you haven't been dating or being married to masculine men, you have no idea how they move. So the vulnerability, I would say, wait and observe. I think a lot of times women rush into things. I'm assuming this is a woman, I don't know, but I speak to women. I think sometimes we rush into things, and I love to share, and I've had to learn this too. There's a time and a place for everything, but men move very methodically. I've talked to women who are like, oh, I wish he would open up to me. There's a reason why he's not. Number one, men are not going to just pour out their heart just because. That's not how they communicate. Men are solutions focused. So they may share some things from time to time, but just sitting and having a crying session, that's not going to happen. There's nothing wrong with him. It doesn't mean he doesn't communicate. It doesn't mean he doesn't know how to use his words. It doesn't mean any of that. He's just a man. He will open up when he's ready. You have to build trust. This vulnerability, there's nothing like, and it's probably happened to all of us, where you share something with someone that you thought you trusted, and then they use that secret or they use that insecurity that you have to get back at you. And again, past the age 50, we've all been burned in that way. So it takes time. Be cautious, and I would say be vulnerable in small doses when you have established that trust. So I just wanted to circle back to that one if it's helpful. But yes, I'd say less is more. All right, let's see what you all are saying in the chat. If you have any other questions, please put them in the chat, or you can click the link. We'll be on for about 10 more minutes. All right, so Bert says, I know I'm too old for the foolishness, and I'm the type, if you want to fuss, you can fuss by yourself. Yes, ladies, this is most men, and this is particularly older men. Whether you're a young woman or an older woman, there's so many things that women don't understand about men. The way men think about life, and the way men think about legacy, and the way they think about their future. And I think it's only natural, because men are always preparing for what's next. And even if what's next is the end, they know at 50, we all have less years left than we have behind us. So they want to really make sure that they're enjoying that. And they're not going to sit and listen to the fussing for no reason, especially if you're new. Escape the Rat Race says, I'll be 62 in November, and his video was very helpful. I'm so happy to hear that. Hello, Gillis is here, one of our moderators in the house. Let's see if there's anything else. Bert says, I feel like the women should be treated like a queen, but that queen should give the king the same respect he gives her. I love that. And I would add, putting words in your mouth, I think she should respect the king before he respects her. Yes, it's mutual, but I will just say, and I've learned this, I've had to learn this. Ladies, for men, respect is paramount. They don't care how much you say, I love you. They don't care how many, meals you cook or gifts you buy or intimate things that you do. If they don't feel like you respect who they are right now, not who you think you're going to shapeshift them into, not who they will be after, you get your hands on them. If you don't respect a man, if you don't respect men in general, and then the man that you're interested in, it's not going to last, because with respect comes a healthy fear of crossing that line. And if you feel like, do you know who I am? Who's going to check me? I can do what I want to do. Again, especially with an older man, you will just find yourself alone because they're not going to put up with it. Oh, James says, Aaron Laura says, great response. I'm glad that was helpful. Thank you. James says, as far as being vulnerable, just relax, use your instincts without fear, and just be yourself. Hello. Absolutely. What would you add, Lucy?
Yes, I like that you said to use that vulnerability part. If we're women, uh, at small doses, because again, we can't be overwhelming our men with every little emotional thing that happens to us. We were born emotional. We were born, we see, a little butterfly that the wing has broken a little bit and we're crying. The other day, I had a spider and I was trying to put her in a little paper, and yes, just to take her out of the house, and I squished it by mistake, and it was my whole world was crushed. And he comes home, and I'm like crying, and he's like, "What happened?" And I said, "I just killed a spider," and he's like, "Babe, a spider, really?" So again, we are vulnerable all the time, and I can tell you, I try to take those vulnerabilities like on little bits and pieces, because again, for men, they have to act right away when they see us in in a bad situation. They want to fix it. He can't bring the spider back. All he did was he took the dead spider to like a tree next to it, and he put like a little dirt over it just to put it away for me. But again, we're vulnerable at all times, and we women, we have the heart for the littlest things, so we can't be crying and being just extra for them all the time, because again, it's too overwhelming for them, and they're worried about the world, trying to fix the world out there. So again, yes, let's be vulnerable, not all the time, not for the littlest things. And I think also once you have kids, I think things change a little bit, because kids I think they make you more resilient as a woman. Anyway, so yes, let's limit those vulnerable times. When they all have a time and a place.
I think that's the key, is to use wisdom. So back over here at the spider funeral, I cannot relate. Y'all know about me and these animals. Sorry, spider, but I keep my man's head on a swivel, and I don't mean to, but I'm a little bit of a lot. And he has told me that. He's like, babe, you are all the way to the left or all the way to the right. Can you find your center? Can you sit down somewhere? And I know that about myself, and it's harmless. I get excited. Sometimes I'm a little impulsive and I can get carried away. So I have to really work on reining that in. And what you can't do, ladies, is say, oh, but when I drink, I get a little bit, you, especially at this age, you have to know what your, dare I say, triggers are. I know that's one of the buzzwords, but yes, ladies, you have to know yourself, and you have to know the man that you have, or the man that you want. Y'all know I am not here for these animals. Oh, the spider funeral. Yes, I'm a little bit of a lot. Y'all, if you know, you know. But I think this is helpful and hopeful for those of us who are aging. I'm 48, be 49 in November, but I would just say at the end of the day, ladies, if at all possible, don't wait until you're this age to start, because it will be a lot harder on you. However, if you are this age and life circumstances mean that you are starting over, use what you've learned, use those experiences to benefit the man that you want. Don't look at what can he do for me. Does he have a pension? Is he paying bills? You will get sidelined immediately. But can you bring peace to his life? Can you be helpful and useful to him? Can you take care of the little things? I got a wonderful compliment from my man today. He said, babe, you know, one of the things I love about you, whenever he asks for something or he mentions something, I didn't know I was saying this, but he said that I say, well, that's no problem at all. I'll take care of it. So I lighten the load. It could be running an errand. It could be, I have a taste for this meal today. It could be anything. And it's just easy with me. So you can, even in your mature age, you can be a joy in your relationship. You can make the man that you want, the husband that you want to have, look forward to seeing you and growing old together. Because I'll tell you, ladies, it's hit me now that Marcus is a senior and we're preparing for life after college. 50 is a very interesting age. I remember being young and thinking 30 was old. Y'all remember that? But now we're here, and this age, I would say these 20 years between like 45 and 65 are beautiful, because if you've kept yourself up, you're still active enough to do what you want. You may not want to do everything, but the kids should be up and out, and you can really make memories together before you really, what we would consider old. And I see, and I work with a lot of women in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s, and they look left and right, and there's nobody emotionally invested in them because they didn't prioritize it. And that's very sad, because the holidays are coming. You see people living their life and doing their thing. So don't wait. Prioritize relationship. So whatever the outcome is, you'll look back and you'll be proud of what you've done and where you are. All right, let's see. Y'all are cutting up in the chat. I already know. Let's see what you all are saying, and then we are going to close out. All right. Yes, y'all were talking about Lucy and her spider tears. Some of you all can relate. I think it's great. We need people like Lucy. I got nothing for the spiders, but I know I have my own flaws. Yes, I do. Gillis says, I'm a little crushed right now, just like that spider was. Oh, sorry. Did I say that? It's a terrible trait to have. Sorry, y'all. Yeah. Okay, James has a spider collection, so you can go visit your friends. What is happening now? The spider was so cute. Oh, the spider story. It is a sweet story. All right. Lucy, anything to close us out?
Yeah, we just have to, if you're thinking about having a relationship at a more seasoned age, we are expecting to be emotionally mature for that age. We're not expected to be acting like we're 25 when we're 50, when already our knees aren't able to do the things that we're supposed to do. Our hips are hurting if you take a long walk. So again, just be mindful. At 50, you should have that psychological, emotional intelligence to be able to discern a little better, to know what kind of man you want, and look for that companionship, not looking only for material things. Because again, I gotta tell you, if you're only looking for material things, life will show you later on, it's gonna come back to you. So again, look for what's in that person, as a person that you can get from them as like companionship, and then just enjoy your older life. It's beautiful. 50s are beautiful.
Turn up. I'll be pulling in on 2 wheels, and y'all be like, look what the cat dragged in. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the chat, the engagement in the chat. Thank you, Erin Laura, for being a member and supporting. We will be back with you all very soon, probably this weekend. But just turn your notifications on. Lucy and I stream for you usually twice a week. And we are very close to announcing our advanced class for wife art called Wife Archetypes. So for our ladies, for our students who have taken our initial class, we have an advanced class that we're going to be teaching in November, so you can know even more about the different types of husbands that you may be interested in. All right, everyone, have a good night. And until then,
save the spiders. Adios.
can you say it in Spanish? How do you? There's no translation.
No, hay que salvar a las arañas. Arañas and spiders.
What she said, I'll just leave it with adios.
Adios.